I think about, what are the levers for change in our society? And at least in the United States, the two biggest levers for change, in my opinion, are the government and the corporation. But if you think about the power of the corporation today, Walmart can put in place a gun policy, and a company can set a policy on reproductive freedom, and Amazon can change minimum wage. So the companies have a lot of say over things that affect our social and economic future. And when you think about the boardroom, which is where we focus, that's the top room in these corporations. And so Him for Her is an organization that's aiming to put more women in the boardroom, because that room, while so important, is lacking women at large. When you find yourself in a position where you are in a management position, you can hire people who know the things you don't. You don't know everything, and you're not going to be expert in everything. And trying to become an expert in everything is just going to spread you so thin. And it actually isn't the secret to success, right? The secret to success is continue to stay curious about lots of things. But when you recognize there's an area of a company that needs expertise, hire the smartest person you know. You really think about my trajectory, it couldn't have been predicted. And I think that hopefully is an encouraging story for people who are listening. I was born in New Orleans and raised in Texas, and was an English major in college, and then started a career in technology. So if that doesn't say anything about, serendipity, I think had a lot to do with it. Curiosity had a lot to do with it. Not listening to people who thought they knew better for me, I think had a lot to do with it as well. That's everything from where I chose to go to university, which was not the place everyone thought I would go, and took the job that no one understood what it actually did as a company or how it made money, because it was new in the space. And so, I wish I had here's the one thing that set me on my trajectory. But when I really look back, it was a pretty windy road. Even the CEO himself hadn't done this before, right? I mean, we were building an internet company in a space that was really disrupting print media. So, it was a first for everyone, which maybe created the spirit of innovation and collaboration. And you're right. I think what I learned during that time is those are the environments that I thrive most in. I always joke, I've never made it to the office that has a Starbucks at the building. That's when the company gets so big that I'm not a fit anymore. Although maybe I could do it at the board level now. But, it was really always these kind of collaborative, innovative environments that I found myself thriving in. We have approaching 6,000 board-ready women in our network. That's growing rapidly because there's no shortage of talent, despite what anyone would say. There's no pipeline issue. We always say it's a network problem. And then we do a lot of demystification out there. What is a board member? What does it mean to be on a board? But equally, we demystify for CEOs, board members, and investors how easy it is to find a qualified woman for your board. And we do some academic studies as well. And we're a nonprofit, so we don't charge women and we don't charge for our referrals.
ABC to CEO shares a lot of these same goals that you have. Of course, we're on the other end of it. We are on the end to try to get more women to become CEOs of organizations, because again, it's like the same concept, the demystifying it. So many young women think this is an unattainable kind of goal for them. They don't think about the fact that they too could be a CEO, and we want to plant that seed. And from hearing from people like you who've done this, been there, done it, and are an amazing role model to women, we think if we can have more women at the CEO level, we'll also be able to have more balance with things, and hopefully it will naturally lead to boards that are also balanced just naturally.
Agreed. And I would say our work is highly correlated, because there's a study that was done that shows that women who sit on boards are more likely to be CEOs. So we think there's this step ladder path of you need to do this, and then you become a CEO, and then you become a board member. Women are defying that and often becoming a board member first. And then that becomes a signal to be, more often a CEO. And I agree with you. We need it all. We need women at the top. And I kind of go back to that statistic about the, only applying for a job when you feel 100% qualified. I doubt many people feel 100% qualified to be a CEO. So it's important to keep that statistic in mind, because almost every job I've taken, I felt unqualified for when I took it. And that means that it was a growth opportunity. And, many of you on this, listening to this podcast, will find yourselves in those opportunities. And those are the opportunities to grow, right? And I would imagine CEO is no exception there. For example, I'll use paid family leave as a topic, right? So when people around the table have different perspectives about where their families are and where they need to be when they're making decisions about that company's policy, which is maybe what governs those employees. And then you have those employees who can look to their board and see people that look like them. And not only say, hey, I can be there someday, or CEO, right? I miss CEO. So I go investor, board to CEO. They can look at their CEO. They can look at their board. They see people like them. And so they stay in the workplace. They stay working. They stay aspiring to be in those leadership positions. And then those employees are building products and services that better reflect their customers, right? And then those consumers who are in our communities start to benefit. So I really see it working its way throughout the entire system. And so when we have this kind of equal balance at the table, I think all tides are going to rise. And I think we will see more and better innovation in some of these giant industries that shape our daily lives. When you're the CEO, you kind of get to hire people you want to work with and paint a strategy that makes you excited. And you get to pick a board that inspires you and makes you better at your job. And so there's a sense of empowerment with that. And I don't mean to stress the word power there, because it's not about like you get to dictate everything. It's empowerment in the sense that you get to create something in partnership with people that you are getting to have a say in working with. And that's both the people above you. So, right, I mean, every CEO should, if they don't, have a board, and that board should help you be growing. And then at the same time, you're in a position to help others grow and to really kind of lock arms with an amazing team and build something that's meaningful. So I do think it's really a great job to have. I also empathize with people not saying out loud, that's what I want to be. It took me a long time to say that. And I will be honest, I was in certain performance reviews told I was too ambitious when I did say it. So what I would say to the listeners who might be at all levels is at least think about what you want to be in 2 years. I have this kind of 2-year frame because I kind of started an organization. I was like, okay, I'm a product manager. So what does it take to be a senior product manager? Okay, what does it take to be a director? Okay, what does it take to be a VP? And I was kind of, as soon as I got to one of those things, I was kind of asking about the next one, but within a 2-year horizon. And what that did for me was create a framework of growth. And then at some point, I made it through those growth cycles to where I was like, I actually do want to be a CEO. And it felt uncomfortable for me to say that. And so I just kept saying it. And then it became more comfortable because, again, that 60%, 100% thing for me was real, which is probably why I bring it up. And so I would understand people who don't say it. And yet there's ways to approach it differently, which is, how do I want to be in 2 years? Where do I want to be in 2 years? How do I get there? I think is a good framework.